Today is January 25th, 2021. This is the Kubernetes CSI implementation meeting. So we'll go down our usual agenda of release statuses, starting with 119. The only thing remaining here is fixing the CSI proxy build, and I believe Jing has been working with the test infra folks to figure out how to get the proper bucket promotion setup going. So hopefully we'll be able to finally fix this soon.
Do you know about the CSI proxy? Are they going to update the Klog? I think that Klog is already still the old one.
Yeah, so I took a look. I took a look at their repo. They're using Klog v1, but they also don't have anything that's using Klog v2. So technically, I don't think they have an issue. And they can just update it whenever they want, but I don't think it's like causing any bugs or anything like that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, they were not planning on doing a release this cycle. I guess they don't have changes or anything, so I think we can defer upgrading Klog to the next release, given that they I don't think are prone to the issue.
But if someone looking for some work to do and found that, and that's
okay,
data, right? I just someone was
asking. Yeah.
Okay, because
if someone. Okay. Yeah, if you know someone's looking for something to do, then yeah, they can upgrade that. That's fine.
Okay.
It just wasn't a blocker for the release.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Moving on to 120. I have a PR out to update our docs with all the new sidecar versions. This is waiting on me to update the table that we have, so I'll try to get to that this week. Patrick has been working on enabling the CI. Looks like the new jobs were added and that has merged and have immediately started failing. So we'll have to debug and see what's going on there.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet, so I need to check the status.
Yeah, I just got a bunch of like test failure emails, so yeah. But anyway, yeah, so making some progress, so awesome. Also, we had some other sidecars or repos that we wanted to release around this time. I guess we have host path and CSI test. Yeah. Are we able to? Are there still pending things there?
We had at least, well, there are ongoing discussion for CSI test. For host path, I'm less sure, to be honest. I need to double check. I think there were things going on around Snapshotter and a potential update of CSI release tools. That at least is pending. And it was supposed to go into the, I think, CSI host path. Perhaps we shouldn't hold up a release because of that, because I think the current approach is going to turn out to be broken, or well, it was broken for a while. I think the latest one might be okay. So anyway, long story short, I think there were some discussions that may have been resolved, but I need to double check.
Okay, sounds good. One more thing about the host path repo is all the sidecars need to be updated.
Yeah, I know.
So should I hold off merging? There's the one big PR adding the house monitor support in CSI host path.
Yeah, I think
we should hold off that. Right.
That was the one that I was wondering whether we want to include that in this release.
Do we want? Okay, then we'll take some time. But actually, that one's getting close. Do you want that one?
I mean, I don't think it will impact like the rest of the driver, right? Because this is like new functionality.
Yeah, it's only the
and it's not changing existing stuff. So like if it merges in time, then I would say sure, that's fine. But I guess we don't need to hold the release on it.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's getting close. Actually, I was actually thinking about merging it. It's the reason I haven't is to get some reviews. I think Nick also reviewed it, so I think Patrick also looked at it. There was some.
Yeah, that was the one that was problematic for a while because I think it was making
Right.
assumptions of how to, or whether the external health monitor or some files, whether they were local or not. And I think the latest version is fine. I think I reviewed everything and it looked good to me. So yeah, I would argue we should include it.
Okay, if that's the case, then maybe I will just merge it. Then I was
Yeah.
just something minor. I don't think we need to release a description. It's not really the code. Okay, so let's just merge it. And then the other one, the one about the snapshot, that's like the namespace, right? Has to do with the namespace.
Yeah, right.
The default or versus the
that
cube
one.
system. We could, looks like it's fixed. The release tool changes, is that one merged?
I think so.
Or is that just a test? I think there are, maybe there was
Yeah.
a test. I don't know which one's merged. Okay, I need to check. I think he submitted a test in HostPass, and then you said looks good to me to that test PR, but not. I think the one in release tool is still not merged. So you want to take a look at that one? Since the test one is okay, if you think the one in release tool is okay, then we can get that merged, and then we can get one in CSS snapshot merged.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have a look at CSI release tools and.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Let's see. Moving on to the Klog v2 stuff. So I think we got everything except for these two repos. I opened up an issue in the SMB driver. I believe Andy took care of it. So now that's done. And then CSI proxy, like I mentioned, it's not critical because they don't have a mix of V1 and V2 going on, but it's a nice to have. So if Shing, you want to have someone work on it, that would be great.
Which one? You in the proxy?
CSI proxy.
Oh, it's just someone was asking, saying why that is not updated. So I thought it's already taken care of. So I said, don't worry. Now you're saying it's not, then I can just tell that person if he wants to, he can go ahead and update it. Then.
Yeah. If they're looking for something to do, then that's fine. Cool. All right. Okay, moving on to 121. I think our biggest focus for the next 2 weeks is getting the enhancements ready. So feature freeze is in 2 weeks on Tuesday the 9th, or is it the 5th? I can't count. The 9th. So we need to have all the keps merged. We need to add each feature that we want to graduate to the there's a new release tracking spreadsheet where we have to add the enhancement issues to get tracked by the release team. And then the other part is we need to have the production readiness review also done, I believe done by the feature freeze date.
Okay, I guess that affects me mostly with the ephemeral volumes and storage capacity because I'm behind with the PRR review. I think we actually skipped it for 119 because the reviewer just didn't show up and didn't do anything on it.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we get to the topics.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, let's first go down sort of the open PRs that we have. First is the save volume data recovery.
Yeah, I saw your comment on this from Friday, and I will get a response to this later today or tomorrow morning. I don't know the answer right now, but I need to research it.
All right, cool. And then we have a new E2E test to do performance measurements. Let's see, where's the status on this? Right. I guess it looks like this just needs review from me probably. I guess one question is that, so this is adding like a performance, this is adding a performance test. I guess one question is in general for performance tests, do we want to put them here in the E2E framework, or do we want to use the scale framework like cluster loader?
I don't know about
I think cluster loader is a more suitable. That's my gut feeling. On the other hand, it's another tool that people have to learn about. So yeah, both.
Yeah.
That has pros and cons.
I guess how easy is it to run cluster loader against an arbitrary CSI driver?
It depends on the test and how configurable the test is. If the test just, for example, expects a storage class, then it's no problem whatsoever to install the CSI driver, define a storage class, and then run it. It's not different from E2E testing.
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that I guess the main thing is that if cluster loader 2 has like better analysis and metrics gathering and tools like that, then it might be worth it to move this test there.
I think it does. I'm not entirely happy not entirely sure how portable that metric support is. In my experience, it sometimes depended on SSH access to the cluster, and that part did not always work for me. But in theory, if it works, you get a lot more, or you basically get metrics out of it in contrast to the E2E framework, which doesn't have anything.
Okay. Like maybe Patrick, since you've had experience running both kinds of tests, would you be able to like, I don't know, kind of sort of put your ideas here to about like the pros and cons of using cluster loader 2?
Okay. In that PR or?
Sure. Yeah. I guess the main thing is we should decide like whether or not we should add this performance measurement test to here, or should we try to set it up in cluster loader 2 instead?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll comment a little bit, and whether it helps make a decision, I don't know. I can see advantages of both approaches depending on who the user is and what they are familiar with and what they want to do. If they just care about running the test, then yeah, I don't know.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Next up we have creating an in-tree PVC with data source.
Oh, I have not submitted PR yet.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, yeah.
All right, moving on to features. So first up we have CSI migration. I think Jiawei, there was a meeting on Friday about this. Oh, is Jiawei not here? Okay. There was a meeting on Friday discussing this. I think the main action item is for all the clouds to come up with a plan on how they're going to reach the code removal deadline by 1/24. I think regarding the 1/21 release, there's a lot of work that Jiawei has planned, but I think none of the features are going to be promoted to a new phase. So I don't think we need the release team to be tracking the work. I think here it's mostly just about enabling more testing and getting more coverage of the beta features. I think the only one that maybe needs update is Azure File, which I think is alpha. So I think that one might target beta, but all the other ones I think are already beta and will remain in beta. Next, we have volume snapshots.
I think this one, it's just some PRs that are being reviewed. I think Grant has a PR under the EG test for the metrics. So, so I'm looking at it. So yeah, I'd like to have others to also review that one. I think it in general looks good. I just have some comments on, we probably should also add this in the system walk driver, so we could add some negative tests. Right now,
Okay.
for host pass is a positive test. And the other one, and there was also A2 test for the secrets. So I've already reviewed it. I think it looks fine. So I see, Michelle, you added a few others to review. So we'll wait for others to take a look as well. But I think, yeah, I mean, I think that one is
Okay.
getting close.
Sounds good. And feel free to ping them on Slack if you don't hear back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have ephemeral volumes.
Yeah, okay. I finally got the PR, a PRR reviewer to look at the pending PR. And he left some comments about what he expects, and we agreed that I update the cap to targeting beta, which I wanted to do anyway. I wasn't sure whether I should get first the old PR merged and then update it. But my next step is the PRR readiness, or the readiness review for beta. I think for ephemeral volumes, we don't really need that much more work. Technically, at least. I think it's fairly stable, and I don't expect much changes. The question is what the readiness requirements demand in terms of additional work. I'm not quite up to date on that yet, so I'll see if when I do the PR update for the cap.
Okay, sounds good.
Track those. I don't think the two caps from Patrick are in the tracking sheet yet, or are we not ready?
Yeah, we need to add it.
Okay, all right. Because I think we were talking about it last time. Patrick was not in the meeting, so your PRs were not added yet. Okay, we can add those.
Yeah, I've been busy a bit with the distributed provisioning and then vacation, but I'm now back and I now have time. So I hope it is still in time for 121.
Yes,
yeah.
we have 2 weeks, so.
But that's just for the cap, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then more time for implementation. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 1 month after feature freeze.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. All right. And then we have volume populators.
No updates on that today. But still
all right. Is the cap ready for review yet?
No, I mean that's what I'm doing, but it's not done yet.
Okay, sounds good. And then I guess Xing, is this already on the spreadsheet? I don't remember.
That one is on the spreadsheet. Yeah, the reason I didn't add Patrick is because he was not in those meetings when we were asking those questions. So, but now we can add it. Yeah, I'm going to add it right now.
Okay, where is
it
this one?
So for some reason, we 6.3 have a lot of caps in there compared to others. Okay, now it looks like maybe they added more. We were the first to add those.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up is FS group related work. Hama, are you here?
Yep. I opened a cap for FS group on Mount work like supplying FS group to node publish node stage. Jan reviewed it today morning. I'm gonna address it. I am going to ping David Eats after, like there are some yeah left comments about some readiness review. I added some. I have it's alpha feature. I have not added a whole lot of production PRR stuff to it, so I'll add it and then ping David Eats about that. And we need to add that to yeah the feature tracking.
Okay, I found the link.
You found it? All right.
Okay. Is it this? Okay. So we need to add it here. Let me put the link. All right. Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and add that to the spreadsheet. Next is volume expansion.
Yes, so I got some help from some people from Microsoft ping me, and the plan is like this quarter, we are planning to work on moving the allow volume expansion field, copying it from storage class to PV, and use that. So, but I have to yet decide like if that thing will be under alpha feature gate. I hate to do that, but I have to like maybe get talk to Jordan or someone and figure out what API machinery folks say about that. I have created cards like issues for all those individual items. Like in the to-do section, you can see copy allows expansion field from SC to PV, the secret in node expand volume, and there's already another person working on node maybe resize online. No, not that one, sorry. That actually may not be an issue, but we can talk about that later. Like volume maybe resize, this is the issue that you filed long back. So we are going to default to, we are like already kind of on the way to defaulting to online expansion on the node as like the feature.
Yeah, I think that this is basically an issue if you only want offline expansion for some reason, but
Yeah,
it seems like almost everything is online now, so I don't know
yeah,
if it's still relevant.
yep. And the one that Zinc filed about the PVC being deleted, yeah, this Sung from Microsoft is working on it. And yeah, basically my plan, by the way, I was talking with Jan and other folks, like to find to not find to create a resizing working group until we can get the whole thing GA, so that it just and yeah. But basically, two people from Microsoft volunteered to work on this. I'm working with them to review and do whatever is necessary. But there's no long-term commitment from them. They're like they want to talk to product, their managers and whatnot. So I don't know how that's gonna be, but for this quarter they're available. So I'm just glad.
Okay, awesome, cool. I guess, do we need any feature enhancements for any of this, or are we
Yeah,
just gonna?
for copying the field, we may need enhancement. I'll update in one or today or tomorrow. I also need to talk to, I think, Jordan or someone and figure out what if it is. We have done this in past where we have added a field for copying secret from storage class to PB, but that was directly in beta. This one is similar, but I don't know what
Okay,
API machinery
sounds good.
folks say. Yeah.
I don't have any issues with that. I think the only concern is that if there's something about the API machinery itself that requires new fields to go through alpha first, that would
Yeah,
be the only thing.
yeah, and the upgrade downgrade case, but as long as we maintain backward compatibility, should be okay. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks for the update. Next, we have volume health.
So yeah, so we have that PR to add the Warning House port in the host path driver. So I think we'll get that one merged. So I updated the cap. So I see that we actually, the person who is reviewing that for production, I think it's actually, he already given a look to me. So that's good. So I see that, Michelle, you have some comments on, so basically mainly it's about how we are going to coordinate with SIG node on some of the reporting, right?
Yeah, because I remember there was this whole thing about how they are redoing the way they do monitoring on the node.
That's a like
So
metrics, right? The metrics.
potentially, yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we're like aligned with what their plans are.
Okay, yeah, I probably should need to ask them. I don't know what they're doing with that. And also, you're saying that there is a problem of monitoring, adding a pod informer on the nodes. You think that's a problem?
Yeah, that's a big performance problem to have a pod informer on every node.
I mean, if we don't do that, then we can't really. Then it has to be part of the kubelet, right? I mean, otherwise we just
I think that's one thing. Yeah. So that's like one thing where like I think we need to see what the monitoring work that SIG is doing and if it solves this problem. Like maybe they have some sort of framework where we can get pod information without having to create an informer.
Okay. Actually, so that actually remind me of we have this discussion for Cozy on the monitoring the pod. So
what about the pod monitoring?
Oh, just for that when we're talking about the that finalizer thing in Cozy, we talked about like monitor adding an informer for the pod. So Michelle was saying that's like not recommended or just
there's security issues, right, with allowing CSI controllers to observe all the pods and all the namespaces, and you don't want to do that.
I mean, my concern is more from a scalability perspective than a security perspective. It's mainly that creating an informer on all pods on all nodes will completely flood and drown the API server when you have a lot of nodes and a lot of pods. So
sure,
that's something that we should not do for per node components, but a like single controller might be okay.
Oh, I see. You're saying if every node had an informer for every pod, that would be insane. But if you just have one that watches all the pods, that's not so terrible.
Yeah,
that's my intuition as well.
But then that's not, yeah. But in this case, like we have the agents, right? So you can't really have central controller because not every driver has the central controller model, right? Is it not every driver has a controller actually, right? Is that right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We can't really, unless if we, I think we had this discussion even when we discussing this, do we want to make that a requirement? Then that will be easy. Because of that, we're saying we add those to the pods because otherwise we can add those events actually on the PVCs, right? So yes.
Okay, so you're talking about events, yeah.
We're talking about the boarding house thingy, yeah. Yeah, because we have those on the certain things are on the agent, right? So there's an agent that are.
Yeah, I know. My only question was like, from an RBAC perspective, what can the sidecars see? And I thought that there was a security concern with allowing the sidecars to see all of the pods in the system, but perhaps not. That was certainly the concern that was raised on the Cozy side.
There is a security concern about nodes being able to see information about workloads that are not running on that node. Because the thing about controllers is that someone can actually, like single controllers, someone can actually run single controllers on dedicated nodes that are like in a different security group than like the rest of the nodes.
Yes.
But for like the nodes that have to run user workloads, we have to sort of treat it as like the user workloads could be malicious, and we don't want those, if like a breakout occurs, we don't want those malicious workloads to be able to see data from other workloads that are just running in the cluster.
Okay, well, that's good feedback for the Cozy guys, because I think this topic is going to come up again in Cozy, and I'll make that point to them. So thank you.
All right. But yeah, I guess regarding this one, I think we just need to sort of sync up with SIG and see what their current monitoring plans are, and make sure that we just kind of were aligning with that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have storage capacity.
So the PR, the production readiness review, basically reiterated some of the previous concerns about scalability, and I'm still wondering what kind of performance metrics will really be needed to get this to beta. It's fairly obvious that this feature will work well depending on what your workload is, how many nodes with a driver you have, how many volumes you create per second. And it may work for some cases and will not work for others. And I'm still unsure what that means for the feature. If it's required that, for example, it works for every single pod in the cluster with hundreds of nodes with local volumes managed by LVM, for example, that would be one of the worst cases where scalability will be a real problem in some sense. Whether it has to work for that case, or whether it's okay to say, well, we only have a few special nodes and a few special applications that are started very infrequently, and then scalability isn't going to be a very big problem. And depending on those assumptions, I can do scale tests and define parameters for those scale tests to mirror what we are expecting from the feature. So that's what's currently keeping me a bit back, and I'm not sure how to move exactly forward with the scalability aspect.
Okay. I mean, like I think this feature will, especially in combination with ephemeral volumes, has the potential to be really powerful and to be very widely used. In which case, I would expect people could actually use this as an empty dir replacement. So at least from like my perspective, then I think if people, if we, like, I can see people wanting to use this as an alternative to empty dir, in which case then the scalability requirements would be pretty high. I think for beta, I don't think we need to like block going to beta if we can't meet those scale requirements, but I think it's something that we should work on improving while the feature's in beta to improve the scalability of it. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, but I'm fine with that. And it basically means that for beta, we probably want some test that covers that, but it's not a blocker if the numbers don't live up to expectations or just show that it's not ready yet. But that's fine. I think that's realistic.
Yeah, I think maybe from like going to alpha to beta, I think we should at least define some goals, and then like while it's in beta, work on meeting those goals.
Yeah, okay. Another question that came up that I need to revisit is a question, I think we discussed that. If you have something like a driver that is running on a node, distributed provisioning, and you have capacity enabled, the current usage model is, or the current setup is that the storage capacity objects will be owned by the pod running on each node. The problem then is if you update the stateful set, you basically replace all the local pods and the storage capacity will get removed and recreated. I think that's a scalability concern here. The more I started thinking about it a bit, and I think it is a valid point because it will put a lot of strain on the entire cluster if it's used widely, if you update the driver, and it would be nice to avoid that. My current idea for achieving that would be to drop or to move the ownership back to the corresponding app object, which would be the stateful set, like we do for no, not the stateful set, the daemon set, which is the same setup that we have when having a central component where it's also owned by the deployment or the stateful set. The question then is, how do we delete objects for nodes where the driver no longer is available? And I think that can be taken care of by the other still running drivers. They just need to have some kind of garbage collection where they collectively look at existing objects from time to time and match them against nodes and then check whether the daemon set still has a pod running on that node. I think that should be doable.
Is it something that the per node thing needs to do, or should we have like a central garbage collector?
We could introduce a requirement to run something centrally with just that purpose. I was not sure I wanted to make that a requirement because then that implies that PMM or CSI, actually PMM CSI does still have a central component. It's where we implement the scheduler extensions. But long term, my thinking was that a CSI driver deployment could be as simple as just having a stateful set. And it would be nice to not force a CSI driver developer to install a central component if it can be avoided. And if it's not too costly to run that on multiple different nodes, I think that's the approach that I would try first.
But does this contradict with what we were just talking about earlier? That running this on every node instead of a central controller?
Well, the distributed provisioning already is based on the idea that everything runs on a node.
So then, basically meaning every node will have all the informers that we run now on the central controller.
Well, so far I've worked on external provisioner, and the external provisioner, it used to have a pod informer or a node informer. It used to have a node informer, and for distributed provisioning, I replaced or I parameterized that code so that it doesn't need the node informer because it knows that it's always running on the same node. So for that particular case, I didn't need to replicate the informer on all nodes.
But for all the other informers that we're currently using the central controller, then that will be replicated, right?
That will become
PVs
that will
right?
that will be a problem that people need to watch out for.
Yeah, I think it's the same problem that we were talking about earlier that we are trying to avoid.
Yeah, I think it just depends on it's going to depend on the number of objects and also how frequently those objects get updated. Yeah, so like pods,
volumes, right?
But like I think pods are probably on at least an order of magnitude more than PVs, and pods also get updated and changed much more frequently
more pods
than PVs.
That again gets us back to the question of what exactly is our workload. If we have one local volume one generic ephemeral volume per pod for every pod in the cluster, then we do have in fact the same number of volumes as pods. I find that unlikely. My expectation is that only a fewer number of a lower percentage of pods will all need volume. So I still think it's realistic to assume that volumes will be less
so more
than
okay,
pods. But
they don't even need to use like any like ephemeral. Doesn't even need to use those ephemeral volumes.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. I think that is it may be some of them, but not all of them. But yeah, it is indeed a good question whether that PV informer that still exists now, replicated on each node, whether that can be made more efficient. It's not in
I
the
guess
current code.
why do you need a PV informer?
Because the external provisioner needs to know when it can delete PVs, and it's the same code as in the central case. It watches PVCs and PVs and compares to figure out which of the PVs no longer have a PVC and are in that release, what the deletion criteria is, and that's the check that it runs. It only needs to do that for volumes on the node, but there is currently no good way to filter for those. So it gets all of them.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's something that we need to sort of keep in mind when we discuss and outline potentially the scalability limitations of the features. So I think we should just call it out, and then we can see where we go from there. All right. So it looks like Wojtek has some questions here. Is there anything that I can help with on any of these, or do you have this?
I'll start looking into updating the cap probably tomorrow, and then we will need to do both a technical review if I decide to make changes, like with the ownership model, and the PRR review will also then need to be handled. So I guess yeah, at some point this will land on your desk to be reviewed again.
All right, sounds good. All right, so that's the main thing that we have with this. Is that right?
Yeah, and then of course some updates in various sidecars, external provisioner mostly, and core. I don't think we'll in core Kubernetes. It's pretty much just a beta update if we decide to go for that. But there is another question that we wanted to clarify, and that is the total versus available capacity question in the CSI spec. And I guess I need to just put that onto the agenda for the next CSI community meeting and get clarification on that. Because that would be an API change also in Kubernetes itself.
Yeah.
Just to recap, the question was, if we get a size by the CSI driver, what is the meaning of that? Is it that the next volume, if it's smaller, can be created, or is that giving you the total capacity that you only get by creating multiple volumes, perhaps? And depending on that, we can use the value for different purposes. And my task is basically to clarify that in the CSI community, and then perhaps based on an updated CSI spec update the usage of that value in Kubernetes. So yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I think we just had a CSI meeting last week. I guess when is our next one?
Which way are you leaning on that question?
My personal interpretation is we should extend the CSI spec to have both capacity, or actually we should clarify the value of return value. We should have the current value, which is kind of ambiguous, but we need it for backwards compatibility, and then have in the response total capacity, get capacity response, new fields with total available capacity and maximum volume size. And those two values then have a precise definition. If a CSI driver reports those, great. If they don't, we are in the same situation as now. The CO kind of needs to make some judgment call of how to use that ambiguous value.
Yeah. But you could just take the current value and declare that one to be the total available capacity, and then add one new field for the largest volume you can create.
We could also do that.
Okay, but we can sort that out in the CSI community. I like being more specific.
It's next Wednesday. It's the next meeting.
Next Wednesday. That's good.
Soon.
Yeah, because we had one additional meeting, right? We added one meeting. That's why.
So what do I need to do to get onto the agenda of that meeting?
You just need to add. You just need to add this on the agenda doc.
Okay, good. I'll do that.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. All right. Let me know if I can help in terms of reviewing anything or trying to resolve some of these blockers. So let me know. All right. Next up, we have the non-graceful node shutdown. There was a discussion about this last week.
Yeah, I think Yasin is supposed to update the cap incorporating other comments. So I'll pin him on that.
All right, sounds good. And we need to add this one to the spreadsheet too. Is that right?
This is already add. Yeah, this is already added.
Oh, okay.
I think he need the section for the production readiness review.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. All right, we are well over time. Thanks everyone for staying late. Are there any other issues that anyone wants to quickly bring up?
Is that something added by Ben? Or is this already discussed? What is, is that an old issue?
I think
that
I
was from last
copy-pasted.
week.
Oh, okay.
So Shing, you may have not been here last week, but we're observing a problem where if you return an error like unsupported from snapshot create, the sidecar just spins and calls create over and over and over again.
Okay.
That instead of backing off like the spec says it should.
Oh,
So,
okay. Can you open an issue and?
Yeah, I meant to open an issue and I didn't do that. So this
basically,
is
you're saying we didn't wait. Basically, just to like keep the.
Yeah, so the non or the certain types of errors are specified that you have to back off your retries if you get them, and it's not doing that.
That's weird. Okay. Okay, yeah, open, we can take a look. This is the latest code, which version?
Yeah, this is the version 4 sidecar.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Any other items? All right, and we'll end for today. Thanks.
Thank you.